Shut up and sit down.
Hello, and welcome to Lift, Run, Repeat. My name is Jason Berg, and today we're going to be talking about heart rate training on a special whiteboard edition. So heart rate training is a really effective way to monitor your cardiovascular training. By plugging in just a few basic numbers into some easy calculations, you can find out if the intensity level that you are doing an activity at will yield the sort of long-term benefits that a cardiovascular training program can provide. But what should that number be? How do we figure out where we're supposed to be in what zone? Let's talk about that. So to start with, you're going to want to know what your high and your low are. And your high is going to be your maximum heart rate. So that's going to be the number 220 and minus your age. And that is going to tell you what your maximum cardiac output number will be. The low is a lot easier. That's usually just whatever your heart rate is. You can just count that when you get up in the morning, resting in bed, and that'll be your high and your low numbers. But for our purposes today, we're going to be focusing on some percentage of your high number. There are 5 basic heart rate training zones that we want to be talking about today. And the number you're going to want to shoot for in each one of these training intensities is going to be the number that we calculated for our maximum heart rate. Take some percentage of that to establish what training intensity we're going to be working at for whatever given activities that we want to do. So the first one is just easy. So this generally works out to be about 50 to 60% of that maximum heart rate number, or anything from your resting heart rate up to around 50 to 60%. So the second zone is going to be a percentage of somewhere between 60 to 70% of that maximum heart rate number, and that's going to be sort of a low intensity. The next zone is going to be the zone that most people are going to be targeting anyway, and this is going to be a number somewhere between 70 to 80% of that maximum heart rate number, and that's going to be our moderate. And so that's a moderate intensity level. And all of these numbers, there's some fudge room, here or there. If you were working at 68% of your maximum heart rate intensity, then, that can be classified as low or moderate. And then conversely, if you were up, somewhere around 81%, that may be moderate for you. So, take these numbers with a grain of salt. But getting into our higher intensity levels, so anything above 80% generally is considered a hard or high intensity. And then moving on to the last zone, then anything above 90% of your maximum heart rate number that we calculated, that's going to be a maximal heart rate. That's going to be just, really hard. And essentially that's going to boil down to just maximal effort. So let's get into a little bit on each one of these zones. The first one, we'll kind of combine them together because generally they kind of have a lot of carryover between the two. So the easy and low, those are going to be zones where, the activity level is going to keep you pretty happy. And so the type of activities that you might classify as easy or low would be something like a moderate hike or walk. Maybe you have a path that you can, take around a lake or something like that. But something real light, carry on a conversation, that kind of thing. It could also encompass things like light to moderate work around the house, and even outside things like some light yard work or gardening. Or if you're like me and you have a small dog who doesn't like to run, but instead likes to stop, sniff, and pee a lot, that would classify as easy or low intensity cardiovascular exercise. So in the moderate training intensity zone, that's where most people are going to want to target for the bulk of their cardiovascular benefit. It's a good zone for achieving things like weight loss and general cardiovascular benefit and improvement. As I said before, the general recommendation is to try and stay in this zone for, about 30 minutes. And As you get more and more fit, you can stay into this zone for longer and do more than 30 minutes if you'd like. And here your more classic activities are going to qualify as moderate level intensity. So things like jogging or walking briskly. Maybe you have a larger dog, which I also have, who does like to run. You can take the dog for a dog run or a hard walk, hiking. Any kind of longer distance, more intense activity is going to qualify here. Another good activity would be cycling. Cycling is another activity where you can, achieve that sort of moderate cardiovascular intensity level. Primarily, though, the terrain is going to be over flat ground. If you want to throw in some hills here and there, that's okay. But, as a rule, we're not mountain biking and we're not doing any kind of long, grueling hill climbs. The benefit here is really to achieve over time a cardiovascular fitness improvement. And then what that yields for most people to try and stay in this zone is more calories burned over that same amount of time. And that's where the real benefit for this moderate zone comes into play. As we move along to the high intensity zones, that hard and then that maximal effort, here we're not going to be timing anything with a clock. It's going to be more like with a stopwatch here, because we're going to keep things relatively short. You're really only going to burst into these high intensity levels for real short durations, and then you do some kind of recovery afterwards. And that can also take the form of a lot of different kinds of activities. It could be using weights and then going to using some jump rope and then maybe doing some box jumps, some sort of a multi-station circuit training style, or the HIIT training, high intensity interval training. Or it could be a single piece of equipment like this kettlebell, where you can do sets of 15, let's say, and you do those every minute on the minute for a series of minutes. So 5 minutes, 10 minutes, etc., and achieve that high intensity heart rate. Moving back outside, it could also be biking or running, but instead of sort of over long, pretty moderate terrain, flat, you're going to be doing short bursts. So you might be doing just hill training. Maybe you've got a place in your neighborhood where you're just going to do hills for 10 minutes or something like that, and that's it. But that high intensity, what you're really going to get is a really strong cardiovascular, but then also a strength benefit, because you're not going to be in that aerobic state, and so you're going to get a kind of a double bang for your buck there. The biggest piece where you're going to get a lot of improvement is on these plateaus that you might find at the low, the easy, and even in the moderate zone. After a while, you kind of level off. By shoving up and bursting up into these higher intensity levels occasionally, what you can do is really break through those plateaus and really kind of boost your cardiovascular fitness. All right, so there you have it. That's heart rate training, zone training in a real basic format. As always, please leave a comment. Tell me if you liked it. Tell me if you didn't like it. That's okay. Tell me if you want to see more of these whiteboards. That would be cool. They're kind of fun. Leave me a question, something I can talk about for next time, even if it's not on the whiteboard. If you're going to take the time to leave a comment, please take the time to smash that like button. And then if you're going to hit that like button, you might as well subscribe. Please subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate it. I want to get some more subscribers. My goal is to get 20 by the end of 2019. And you can help me do that by subscribing. As always, this has been Lift, Run, Repeat. And if you made it all the way to the end of this video, I am still Jason Berg. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.